Okay.
No, wait.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here for this Facebook Live. Today, we have a very special guest all the way from the south of France, Elizabeth Gaby MW, being interviewed today on the Rosé Revolution by Monika Vescovi. So here we go, and we'll switch on over to the both of them.
Wait. Just.
Okay,
Hello,
Monika.
I can't. Just one moment.
Gabay, Master of Wine, here with us today. We're having a little bit of trouble with the connection, so bear with us for just 1 second. In the meantime,
I'm okay.
Description of Elizabeth. Elizabeth Gabay, Master of Wine, is the world's foremost authority on rosé wine. She is also an author of book that I have here with me, Rosé Understanding the Pink Wine Revolution. She's the president of the jury at the International Rosé Championship and an expert on Central and Eastern European wines. We have met in 2017 in Poland at Elizabeth the Masterclass on rosé. Later on, we had a chance to judge together at the International Rosé Championship, as well as at Gipul in Hungary, because Elizabeth is one of the well-known wine judges in the world. So today we're discussing rosé, and we're discussing rosé for a very particular reason. So rosé consumption over last year is growing tremendously. Once an ugly duckling today is actually responsible for 10% of global wine sales, and 14% of rosé production is being. So how did the increased demand for rosé change rosé winemaking globally?
Well, it's one of those chicken and egg situations in that I think there was a lot of European funding towards marketing wine, and Provence growers in 2006-07 took advantage of that and started to promote the wine. And all of a sudden, people realized that here was an opportunity to sell a wine that they hadn't thought of before. And so everyone then just followed the Provence style. So in 2007, you had like a quarter of the world's rosé was Provence style. Now it's 40% because it's just perceived as this is the marketing trend. So the success of Provence rosé has changed other people's winemaking. So that's been quite an interesting development. And it's still going on. You will still get people saying this must be good because it's like Provence rosé.
Okay, but if you look deeply into winemaking, what has changed?
What has changed? Okay, so from that point of view, how do you make the Provence style rosé? Most people just look at colour. So you can have a totally different wine style, but if it's pale, people say it's Provence style rosé. And so when I was researching it, I would say to people, well, okay, what is a Provence rosé? And the first thing people would say was, it's pale. It's dry. It has high acidity. And it's fruity. Which is not really a Provence rosé. If you were doing a blind tasting, you'd be way off. So really what happened was a lot of people have never tasted a Provence rosé, but still will identify that this is a Provence rosé with pale. So what they'll do is they no longer bleed off the red wine. Very, very short skin contact. A lot of areas include white wine, white grapes in their winemaking. So in Europe, before fermentation, elsewhere outside. So really it's that skin contact. It's this obsession with free run juice, which is really a blanc de noir, but so that is the basic thing that people have changed.
Okay, so let's discuss the color, because we often discuss it as an important factor for consumer choices. So we know the skin contact is influencing the color of rosé, But how are the consumers responding to that? What are they demanding, and how did that change, or did it change how we're making rosé today?
This is quite a curious thing, because if you show a range of rosés of different colours, the first reaction people will have is, isn't the range of colours beautiful? We love all the different colours, from pale to dark. And then you'll say, well, which one do you want to try? And people will say, well, the pale one is the good one, the dry one, the better one. And if you look at Instagram is massively influential on the colour. So if you have a pale rosé, it looks light, low calorie. I don't know. I mean, just like white wine is low calorie. It reflects the sunset. It looks nice next to the sea in a way that a darker wine just doesn't work. It's that very, very pale pink.
Yeah.
And I think I don't understand it, so I can't really give an answer. This is, people repeat the same old message, that a pale pink rosé makes you look like you're sophisticated on the Mediterranean. I don't understand it. Clever marketing. That is a complete mystery to me. And yet, at the same time, if people taste a darker one that's had more fruit and more extract, they usually like it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a conflict there.
Okay, so we're probably wondering how many producers are wondering how to overcome that obstacle, right? Because it's one of those obstacles today in sale. We see throughout the world a whole range of rosés made in different style, and the sales are growing. So how do we bring people really to drink different styles of rosé? Is there a way? Have you seen a successful market that dealt with that?
In a couple of ways. I mean, my big bugbear is hack journalists that do cut and paste. Here is a list of rosés for the season. It's pretty and it's pale, which just repeats it. So when I give master classes and I put in my maverick selection of slightly darker, more substantial rosés, the people I will tend to reach best are sommeliers who can do that hand sale. They can actually talk a wine through. But the problem is that it's 20 people at a time that you're influencing. It really, really is small. And so sometimes I kind of feel like I do my Cape Crusader thing on my own. I really feel that it's a catch-22. People want to sell their wine, so they make that pale side. I wonder whether people should maybe have, and it's happening a bit in Provence now, 2 different wines. So you have your money-earning pale pink rosé, and then you have your more interesting hand sell, slightly darker rosé. I wish I'd be a millionaire if I knew.
Oh, that as well. Okay, so that might be one of the solutions. So you mentioned the seasonality, and this is an important thing when it comes to sales of rosés. How do producers and merchants deal with seasonality of rosé?
Yeah, well, that's a big sales problem, isn't it? Because if you've got stock left in, people don't want the older vintage. So I found one of the big problems. I really like older rosé. I think it develops far more complexity. And then people would say, but it doesn't taste of strawberry fruit, fresh acidity, And I'd say, yes, but you don't. A white wine changes and a red wine changes. So my theory is that we need to develop a tasting vocabulary for older rosé, so that we're not trying to sell a rosé of 3 years old saying it's still got strawberry fruit. We're saying it's developing more dried fruit character, maybe more nutty character. And this is what you should be looking for. After 3 years, you don't want to have the primary fruit character. You want that secondary fruit character coming through. So it's that vocabulary that I think we're lacking, the confidence to say.
We also have to put that through the books that are written, about rosé, because very often in any of the books that we study from, you'll see that a rosé is an early drinking wine, and that misconception is, then repeated and repeated over and over.
So yeah, this is something that I'm now thinking of the next rosé book, because first of all, I thought I would just do a second edition of this book and update it, but I really feel that the market that's needed is maybe the slightly geeky, slightly unusual, the older rosé with spontaneous fermentation, which I think is really interesting, and just have a book to focus on these things that are quite difficult to sell and quite difficult to reach a market with. So I was talking to Simon Wolfe, who did the book on amber wine.
Okay.
And I said, maybe we should do a blind tasting together. We're quite keen on this because there are older rosés that look a bit like orange wine. And there are some orange wines that look a bit pink. And let's do a blind tasting and show people that it's not all Whispering Angel or Barefoot or whatever, that there is this far more complex range of flavours with rosé. That's the sort of theory I'm playing with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that book. So another important thing when it comes to development of rosé is lower alcohol rosés. In the world of wine, we're talking a lot about wines that are that have lower alcohol or simply non-alcohol. What developments do you see there?
Well, you're talking from Trump's America with 14% tariffs. So in Provence, interestingly, very few of the Provence rosés for the 2019 vintage had 14% plus alcohol. Miraval, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's rosé did. Flopped as far as I was concerned. It lost all balance. That is going to be a very interesting point because America is a major market for rosé. But to avoid the tariffs, will people go for the low alcohol or the high alcohol? I don't know. At the moment, it's under discussion.
All right. So that takes me to another question on the price of rosé. So what are the biggest factors that drive the price of rosé up, and which rosés are able to obtain higher prices, and why?
Nice. So in Provence, one of the things that they said at the very beginning was that they had to buy all the equipment to chill down the cellars, and that was quite expensive. And then I was speaking to Gérard Bertrand, who now has the most expensive rosé at 200 euros a bottle. And he said, a very interesting point, nobody queries when he makes a white or a red for the same price, but they do when it's a rosé. And he said, I make it in exactly the same way. I have low yields, I have spontaneous fermentation, I put it in. So our perception of rosé not being high priced, even if it takes as much work, is already an obstacle. So what do you need to do to make a rosé expensive or higher priced? A lot of people shove it in new oak. Doesn't always work. It's like any cheap Chardonnay put in oak or rosé put in oak. So I think the lower yields, exactly the same as every other one. I think the lower yields, I think at a recent tasting, I would say a quarter of the wine, we came away saying photocopied wine, absolutely identical. They've used the same yeast, the same formula, really completely. So if I'm looking to pay a slightly higher price, I want a producer that's going to be using their imagination and really stretching it. There are places that are making high altitude, unusual grape varieties, amphora, all sorts of things. And I think that's what I'm looking for. And you're paying for that imagination and that uniqueness and that development.
Okay, there are a lot of rosé now made with indigenous grape varieties. It is a huge development right now. What are the biggest successes that you see on the market with indigenous grape varieties?
Indigenous grape varieties. I really think things like Negroamaro, it's a phenomenal grape variety for rosé, far better than for red. Amazing aging ability. You talked about aging ability. We tasted one from 1976. You know, it has just such beautiful, a lot of these indigenous varieties have amazing acidity, which is why they're faded out, because nobody liked the acidity, but now we understand how to work with it. So that I really think was very, very good. Zinamavro, Northern Greece, makes beautiful, beautiful rosés. Again, that high acidity. Sangiovese is proving. So any variety I think that we've thought up till now as maybe a bit too tough and aggressive, in the hands of good winemakers is looking very good. And I know Grenache is the big thing, but you know, Grenache for me does not make the best rosé. It, you know, it tends to be, it's very nice and it's soft and it's generous.
The alcohol can throw it out of balance.
And the alcohol can be high, yes. So for me, I don't get excited over Grenache rosé. Which is probably heresy, and I'll sort of, you know, get struck off some sort of list. So I do like my rosé to have a bit of guts and a bit of substance and a bit of acidity going there. You know, that's what I'd be looking for.
Okay. So you're a president of jury of International Rosé Championship. Is judging rosé different than judging any other wines, comparing rosés from around the world?
Well, this is the multi-million-dollar question, because I have to say I'm not a big fan of competitions. Largely because I don't like the system in which they're done, you know, like things like where you judge wine with numbers, and I think judging wine by numbers is wrong. You know, you can't judge a wine by a number. And so you will have seen when we were judging at the International Rosé Championship, I was very, very specific that I felt we should all be writing tasting notes so that even if we disagreed, we would be able to look back at why we've disagreed. And I think with rosé, that is very important, because it allowed rosés that were different to actually shine. So we did have some winners that I think might not have won in a classic competition, but when we came to discuss it, we realized that the only reason a rosé might not have won was because it was slightly darker. But as we began to discuss it, we realized that the complexity of a wine. So for me, that was really important with the championship, was that I was able to steer it away from judging by numbers and to really put our understanding of the wine into the competition.
That's what I really enjoyed about it, that we were able to discuss the wines, their quality and their differences. So do we have any questions to Elizabeth?
Thank you.
Okay.
So Tavel, yes.
Wait, let me get through with this question. Peter Marx is Master of Wine asking about your opinion on Tavel producers.
So Tavel is going through a complete emotional crisis at the moment. They're in therapy. They sent out a questionnaire last year saying, we don't know which direction to go. If we stay dark, we're losing sales. We will get more sales if we go pale. So what do? We need to financially survive. And I personally, I think the pale Tavel, you might as well be Provence. It's exactly the same as Bandol. I think One problem with Tavel, the good producers make really good Tavel, but there are a lot of producers who make high alcohol, dark wines and think the name alone will carry it. So I think if they want to be successful with that darker rosé, they have to aim at making the best. You can't be commercial and a rising and a sort of gem in the rosé world. You can't be both. So they, there are what 20 producers. They need to focus on getting that top quality darker rosé.
So for those consumers could drink Whispering Angel, for example, or those paler rosés, what would you recommend? Well, particularly in the US market, for them to try the deeper color rosés? Or any rosés to start.
I think Spain for me would be the place to go, in that they have that lovely ripe fruit, which, if you're used to Whispering Angel, would be something you would go for. And places like Ribera del Duero, with their Tempranillo rosés, there were some fantastically ripe, with a bit of Grenache. They've got enough Grenache to keep that flavour going. Lovely, soft, ripe fruit with a good concentration behind it. I think for me, that's where I would recommend a lot. The other place that is, I have doubts on this one as well, Chiaretto from northern Italy, which used to make lovely darker rosé, but has now gone the Provence style. But that would be quite interesting, that it would get more into another slightly different fruit profile. So, yeah, but now I think I'd stick with Spain. I think Spain has the most amazing variety of lovely, approachable rosés.
Okay, thank you. Okay, which three are the most emerging rosé wine regions at this point, and why?
First of all, I would say for value for money, IGP Doc from Languedoc. I think there are some amazingly good value wines. Some of them are Provence style, some of them are more imaginative and do something slightly different. Definitely very, very impressed with the wines that were coming out of IGP Doc. The other wine area, my husband's just saying they get very upset by IGP Doc. It's IGP Pay Doc. And the other region that I'm absolutely bowled over with the rosés is Austria. I recently tasted 100 Austrian rosés. They arrived at my house and I worked my way through it, and I would say a good half of them I was sort of jumping up and down going, wow, Solera rosé, just amazing range of variety. Producers, we know what Austrian wine is like, they're red and they're white, they aim for quality, and the rosés were phenomenal. So not cheap, so the opposite to the IGP Pay Doc, but really exciting and somewhere to look out for. And thirdly, I think, so I'm very European centric because of the hemispheres and the climate and everything. We don't tend to get a lot of foreign, outside Europe rosés. I think Greece is also beginning to show some really quite interesting and indigenous, and southern Italy. So the Mediterranean with those indigenous varieties, there's some interesting flavours. But I think Austria at the moment, if I had the choice.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you much for joining us here at FB Live Napa Valley Wine Academy. Thank you for bringing us up to speed on Rosé, which is growing tremendously at the moment. And we're going to move to Chris, who's going to tell us about the next FB Live.
Well, thank you so much, Monika and Elizabeth. Thanks for staying up late and joining us all the way from southern France. We look forward to having you back on a subsequent show. Coming up this Wednesday, we will actually be covering a WSET Level 3 tasting note for red wine, and that will be led by our Director of Education, Catherine Bouguet. So make sure and join us here Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, for a study hall on WSET Level 3 tasting note for red wine. Again, thank you so much to our guest, Elizabeth Gaby and Monika Vescovi, and we look forward to seeing you again here on Wednesday. Cheers and have a great day.
Thanks.